Joined by Amanda Smith, the Tennessee Tech head women's golf coach. How are you doing, Coach Smith?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. So your season, you're into the fall season now. Just how is, the beginning of your season going for you?
Oh, it's good. It's good. We've got a really good squad this year. We've had a great freshman that came in, just started kind of rolling out and did really well during qualifying. He's played in the first two tournaments for us. So that's been really good to see a freshman come in and kind of put some heat on the upperclassmen. That's always fun to see how they react and kind of how they can kind of iron sharpens iron and they can grow from there. So we've seen two of our seniors really elevate their games to that kind of level too. And then we've got a sophomore that's kind of taken on the leadership role and she's seen better golf too this year. So we're really happy about kind of the squad that we're putting together and making sure we can kind of come together as a team when it matters most.
So you're the head women's golf coach at Tennessee Tech. You're in your third season.
Mm-hmm.
Just for you, how did you end up at Tennessee Tech? And also, what is it like? What does it mean for you to be a head coach?
Two great questions. So I was playing professionally at the time when I said, I really want to be a part of a team again. It was lonely when you're out there playing on your own, traveling on your own sometimes, going from tournament to tournament, just trying to make it. And it takes a toll on you. And I think I sat down with one of my mentors and I was like, I really do want to coach. I don't know when my time would be to coach. And he said, I think right now is the time. So just to apply to different places. And so I applied to Tennessee Tech early on, and they called me back. It was funny. I was playing in the Michigan Women's Open, and I shot my worst round possible the first day. And actually, that evening was when the head coach had called me and said, "Hey, we have this opening for Tennessee Tech if you want to be the assistant coach." And I said, "All right, well, I guess it's meant to be." And the next day, I went out and shot two under, so I kind of had this weight off my chest, and I went down and I loved it. And to answer the second question, it's definitely been a difference in kind of how you have to operate. It's as a head coach, you're in charge of everything. You have a high responsibility, and it's definitely been something I've had to learn some tough lessons. But there's definitely a lot of upside. You earn a lot of trust, a lot of relationships with your players, and also the people that you surround yourself with within the university. So it's been awesome.
I'm interested to know. So you played competitive golf for a little bit. What has the transition been like for you going from playing professionally to now you're a head college golf coach?
It's different. It's something where I think for me it's personally where I know what I need to work on when I'm playing. That's me, that's how I play. But when you're the coach of a team, you kind of have to operate and what brings out the best in each person. So how I performed and what I did necessarily was good for my game, but it might not be how other people see their game. So you have to almost experiment and say, how do you see your shots? Okay, if you don't even see your shots, how do you feel your shots? What's the best way you learn? And I think just kind of gaining on that communication and gaining with your players on what best makes them at their best is a lot different than kind of what makes me at my best. So kind of being able to kind of balance the two has definitely been just a difference in how I perform as a coach for myself. So that's pretty much the main idea behind it.
Yeah. So you touched on it a little bit, but was there any point or any time where you knew you wanted to be a college golf head coach, or was being a head coach not really part of your plan or not something you really
Um,
considered?
I would probably say not this early on. I became a head coach I think I was 28. And so that's fairly young to be a head coach. And I gained a lot of trust with my athletic director, as the assistant of a men's and women's team. At certain times, the men's head coach would have to go with one team, and then myself as the assistant would just be by myself with another team, either on the road or at home during practice. So I had a lot of responsibilities where I was focused in as the only coach maybe in that time that maybe we were traveling or at practice. So I had to learn the responsibilities a little bit faster. So what was nice was when our athletic director decided to split the programs, it almost felt like a sigh of relief from the players' side of things because they had an actual coach that was able to help them and say, "Hey, I'm here for you guys. I'm not going to be traveling. I'm not going to be making sure I'm with the other teams. I'm going to make sure I'm here for you." So I think that was a good sense of relief as when I became a head coach. I kind of already had those responsibilities, but it kind of was where I said, I'm here for this particular team. I'm here for these ladies.
So before you were a head coach, you got to compete professionally on the Cactus Tour. Can you tell me about your time competing on the Cactus Tour, and also can you just sum up what professional golf was like for you?
So I was actually living out in Arizona when I was playing on the Cactus Tour because a lot of the tournaments are run through a lot of the West Coast. You'll see a lot
Yep.
either in Texas, California, Arizona, some in Utah, just a few kind of that span around because they're getting you almost ready for Q school. And it was just, there was a lot I had to learn about playing different courses, playing desert golf. That was something I wasn't familiar with. I grew up in Ohio. I grew up playing at Indiana State University. So a lot of northern courses. But as a professional, you learn how to grind. You learn how to realize you're playing for a paycheck now. The money that you're putting in is you have to earn something from that. So I missed a few cuts and I'm like, oh my gosh, Amanda, like we're not making any money here. So you have to find a good balance of staying afloat in that way and making sure that, when you're out there, you're yes, every shot makes a difference, but you're kind of playing to make sure you make a paycheck and you're out there grinding. So you got to make sure your every hour that you put into it is worth it. And that kind of was a good switch from me competitive playing collegiate golf to now professional golf because it's on me now. It's not on the university, it's on me now. So I learned a lot when I was on the Cactus Tour in that way. And then it got me ready for Q school, which was a whole nother that's a whole nother ball game. You have girls from all over the world that are trying to gain those spots into the LPGA, and it can be really tough. It was out in California. It was 113 degrees, 3 rounds, and it's just go go go. And you really cannot mess up. You really have to be on your game. So you learn a lot about grit. You learn a lot about motivation, and it can change you as a golfer.
So through these interviews, yeah, I've been learning a lot more about qualifying school as you've been talking about. So can you just describe, what it was like, for you to compete in qualifying school?
So it was tough, we'll say that. But what was really nice, I got to play those courses a few times before I went out there. They're amazing. That's where the Dinosaur is. That's where an LPGA event is.
Yeah.
You weren't able to use a rangefinder, so that was a big difference. That's what I help my players with nowadays is, how do you walk off the yardage? What is the yardage to the front? Kind of just what are those simple things that you could be doing in your round that can make your thinking process a lot faster. You can learn more about your game. So I think for LPGAQ school, it's something where you have to level up. You have to recognize like this is a tournament to get into the LPGA, but are you performing to where you can sustain this? And if you physically cannot make it through Q school, you probably won't be able to stay on the actual tour and make the money that you need to actually survive. So I think Q school on its own, just to be able to play in it and to compete in it, you're putting yourself in that level, and you have to say, this is where the best of the best have to make it, and you have to be able to do that. So unfortunately didn't make it past the first round, but just playing in it and just competing in it and just meeting all the girls that wanted the same dream as you. You honestly root for each other in the end because you really do want to make it.
Yeah, even though obviously you didn't get through, I'm sure it's a bit, learning experience just getting to compete in it.
Yes.
Um, so you played on the Cactus Tour. Were there any of your fellow competitors who you're friends with or were you close with during your time
Yeah.
on the tour?
Yeah. So one of my really good friends, who's actually my teammate back in college, Reese Fiducia. She was actually on the Cactus Tour, and she did a little bit of the I want to say it was a Symetra tour during that time. Danielle Lemick, I think she just tried doing Q school again. She was actually one of our biggest rivals that we'd go against when I was in college. So it was cool to kind of get to play practice rounds with her and play against her and play with her as like a good transition from college into the Cactus Tour. And then Savannah Villalobos, she's still on the tour now. She's doing great. She's really advanced herself, and that's something that we always support each other in that way. So those were probably three of the big ones when I first got there that were on the tour. We were together.
So you worked 2 years at outside operations at TPC Scottsdale when you were there in Arizona. Can you tell me about what it was like to work outside operations?
So it was, well, just at that course in general, TPC Scottsdale, we got to work the tournament when Waste Management came into town. We were right there with the players. We were down in the media locker room. We were there for the pro-am. So when Aaron Rodgers was there, when a couple of really big football players, I didn't know who they were. I didn't know who some of the football players were, but obviously my other employees kind of knew who they were because they were more football fans. But it was just it was awesome to get to see some of the pros that would come out there too. Tony Finau would come out there and practice all the time. Scott Stallings would come out there, just to kind of see them come out there, and you could watch them in their jobs. You can watch them work, you can watch them practice, and that was their setting. Overall, it was just a great experience. I loved, if I could move back there, I would, as the weather was amazing. But overall, it was a good time with some good friends.
Yeah. I don't know if I said, yeah, I grew up in Arizona, so I'm very familiar.
Okay,
Yeah, I grew up
nice.
in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay,
Was
yeah,
born there.
gorgeous. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of hiking, a lot of cool stuff there.
Mhm. So you've won the Indiana Women's Open. Can you just describe what it's like to win that state open? Because I know that is
Mhm.
both amateurs and professionals. So it's always a
It
big
was
deal to win state opens.
Yeah, it was awesome. My coach was actually on the bag. So my coach at Indiana State was one of the big reasons I went there. He was my mentor. He still is my mentor. You know, I called him the other day about a qualifying that we had at here at Tennessee Tech. I kind of asked him for his advice. Hey, what do you think I should do with this? You know, so he was on the bag when we won that, and I think that was probably, it was just a cool moment for both of us. You know, I grinded to get a couple birdies down the stretch, and so it was cool to kind of have him there with me and seeing all of it.
So now I want to get into what early golf was like for you. So how did you get started playing golf, and what age did you begin playing?
I want to say I was around 9. I don't really remember the actual age, but I just remember my mom would go out with I have two older sisters. And so they'd always go out and play golf. And I was like, what? I don't care for this sport. I used to play basketball, I used to play baseball, all this stuff. And I was like, what is this sport? This doesn't look very fun. But then I get jealous. I was like, all right, my mom is going out there with both my sisters and I've got nothing to do. So I started playing golf, and then my two sisters decided to stop playing golf. So just me and my mom always out there playing. So she was basically the person that got me started. You know, she still plays to this day. I think she plays more than I do. She plays in big tournaments. She gets to travel everywhere. So being with her and going out and playing almost every evening, just kind of when the sun's setting, was, until this day, actually is one of my greatest memories of starting when I started golf.
Yeah. What was junior and high school golf like for you growing up?
Junior, there's not much I remember about junior. I think it was more of, I would just go out in the summers and play. You know, I did a couple events up in Ohio, just at local courses, but it wasn't as crazy as it is today. It's not. I did a couple AJG events, went down to Georgia, but it wasn't something like how it is now, where they have 3 or 4 junior tours all over the place. But
Yeah.
in high school, that's where I had a lot of my friends I still have to this day, where we played. We got second at state my senior year. I got fourth. And so it was definitely, we learned how to have fun and be competitive at the same time. You know, some high school teams are just kind of, they're all over the place. But I think we knew going into my senior year that we really wanted to do well. And so we were able to do that. We got second place and we were really happy.
So then you competed collegiately at Indiana State University.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to attending Indiana State University, and were there any other schools you were looking at attending, or were you pretty set on Indiana State?
So actually, kind of what I said earlier, my coach was probably the biggest reason. He had played in the senior level. Excuse me, had played out in Europe. He had coached a lot of pros at the time. He originally was down in Orlando, where he helped with a lot of professionals. And he came up to Indiana State, and he's like, you know what? Let's try this out. You know, it was almost like we were his guinea pigs. We were his first ever recruits. There's 5 of us freshmen. And he said, you know, if you really want to be good, then come with me, stick with me, and I can help you. And he's, to this day, he pushed me, challenged me, and just being at Indiana State, we kind of, all 5 of us, we were a part of that guinea pig thing, where we're like, Coach, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, or maybe we should be doing something else, and just kind of the fun stuff that we got to do. You know, that was something that drew me to Indiana State. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second question?
Oh, were there any other schools other than
Hmm.
Indiana State you were looking at attending, or were you pretty
Yeah,
set on attending Indiana State?
so I was actually up in Ohio. Kent State's a really good program. I've been talking with them for a little bit. They were top 25 at the moment. You know, just kind of just talking with them about what they had, and I felt as though it was close to home, but I wanted to be a big fish in a small pond, and make sure I got to play at Kent State. It would have been tough to play. They have a really good squad, really good coaching program, and I knew I wasn't to that level just yet. but I wanted to make sure at Indiana State I knew I could play. I knew I just wanted to go out and play, and I think that's what I've learned as a coach for recruiting wise. There's a lot of girls that they see the big bright lights, they see going to these big Power 5 universities, and they might not play. This might be one of those scenarios where they might not get to play, but you go to a mid-major and you go in as one of the best players, you're going to play. So that was what was huge what drew me to Indiana State as well.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about Indiana State? Well, not completely familiar with Indiana State. So like, what division do they compete in? Maybe what tournaments and what schools do you compete against?
So they're in the Missouri Valley Conference. So
Okay.
they're in the kind of in the middle of the state, more near Illinois. So they're in Terre Haute.
Okay.
And so they play against Bradley was in the Missouri Valley at the time. Northern Iowa was in the Wichita State was in it when I was playing. That was a big rivalry of ours. We played against Evansville. So just kind of in that local area of more Missouri Valley Conference. And it was a Division 1. And it was probably roughly when I was there. We had the highest class actually when I was there. I think there was about 13,000 students there when I was there.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned, yeah, I'm not familiar. You mentioned Bradley. I interviewed the Bradley coach.
Yeah.
Um, so what were some of your highlights and best memories from college golf? And can you just, sum up your college golf experience? What did you like? What did you not like about college golf?
Mm-hmm. Probably a good experience was I actually got second place at conference my junior year, and one of the biggest things for me was one of my older teammates. She was the leader at the time. She was a senior. She had gone out and shot under par the first round, and I said, you know what, I want to catch up with her. I want to try to beat her because we had that level. We always wanted to compete against each other, and in a friendly way. It was something where we kind of talked a little crap to each other every now and then. So it was good to see her play well that first round. I was like, you know what, I'm trying to level up and kind of go against her. So that year, my junior year, was a lot of fun, kind of seeing how she progressed, and then I was able to kind of come up with her, and we did so. We ended up getting second place that year too as a team. So I think how much we worked that year and knowing that we had a chance. We had a chance if we just pushed each other, and probably just in general, probably my favorite memories is just us traveling, being on the bus, just doing stupid stuff, goofing around. But also when we got to the tournament, we had that belief in ourselves that that year was going to be successful for us.
Yeah, oftentimes with college golf, you more remember, hanging out with teammates, and your
Mm-hmm.
coaches rather than, what place you finished at a tournament.
Yeah.
It's a great thing about college golf. Then after your college golf career, you started your coaching career where you remained at Indiana State as an assistant coach. So I'm curious to know, what is it like to be, a college golf assistant coach? And for you, personally, what did you learn from getting to be an assistant coach?
Yeah. As a graduate, I would probably say I was so young. I what was and kind of going back to how my coach was. So my coach was also my swing instructor. So he was a swing
Okay.
instructor to a lot of my current my teammates at the time, and then who I was coaching. And so I think what I had to learn early on is I was almost trying to be like him. I was almost trying to like help them with their swings and instruct them with their swings. And I was like, Amanda, like that's not you yet. Like obviously you're gonna learn more about that, but you have to be the person that develops a relationship with them. And you have to, because when I got there, when I was there for my master's and when I was the assistant grad assistant, he had brought in 5 new freshmen because the 5 freshmen had left. So I had seen what it was like to be a freshman in college and not know anything. And you're just put out there. You're just put in this world. It's tough. It's crazy. You're away from home. And I said, Amanda, let him do the swing stuff. Like that is his role. Your role is to make these girls feel trusted, make these girls feel safe, make these girls be confident, in themselves and learn from their freshman year. And so that's kind of the role that I took on, and I had to develop that for myself. And I try to this day to do that for my players and just allow them to be themselves and be their confident selves.
Yeah, so I'm always curious to know, for you, what was it like being an assistant coach while getting your master's degree? So in terms of like, how was it for you, balancing, your coursework, going to classes, and also your coaching duties?
It was tough. It was something where you kind of have to be diligent about what you do, what you determine that you do, the sacrifices that you make. I was still away from home. There was definitely weekends that we were traveling, and I didn't get to see my family for for months. That's something that a sacrifice that you have to make. And so, and I kind of knew that early on. That was something I was trying to play professionally, doing my master's and coaching. So a lot of sacrifice they have to make, a lot of social stuff that is definitely a difference at that point too. You're getting older and you can't go out and do the college stuff that you maybe did in your undergrad. You have to be more responsible. So I think just balancing out what to say no to. What exactly matters is getting your work done, actually getting you're paying money for your master's. You're really, you need this to do better with getting a job. So I think what for me was the balance of saying, if I want to be serious, I have to make sacrifices and know what I need to say no to.
So you are currently pursuing your LPGA teaching certification. Can you tell me more the about what the LPGA teaching certification is and what you have to do to get your certification?
So you have to take so many classes throughout the time that you've signed up for it. And the classes consist of, you have maybe 2 or 3 professors that are very, very knowledgeable within the swing, very knowledgeable within coaching, very knowledgeable within kind of course management side of things, and just how you go about giving a lesson and how to help with maybe finding certain tweaks and maybe drills that you could possibly do. So I had done my first one as it's a apprenticeship. So then you can kind of go on from there and get to your level 1, level 2, level 3. So it's just over a course of probably say like 3 years in which you're getting these different levels and taking these classes to be able to actually get your certification to officially either be a head pro at a golf course or just be able to give lessons to a span of people throughout your career.
So for you, what's the goal in pursuing your LPGA teaching certification, or you don't have one specific goal with pursuing the certification?
It'd probably be a mixture of things. I want to be better for my players. I want to be where I'm knowledgeable and I'm testing myself, and it probably would stay within the realm of coaching. I probably wouldn't go to be a head pro at a golf course. That could be years later down the road when I'm old and crippled and just kind of want to hang out at the golf course all day. But just in general, to have that knowledge and to have it to be where I know exactly what I how to communicate better with my players and actually use this. It's a resource. It's a great resource for women to get a hold of each other too. There's different networks that you can go through when you meet somebody that, hey, so and so was in my class. She works out at Pinehurst. Okay, hey, we'd love to come out there and practice out at Pinehurst. I'd love to pick your brain about what's best, what works best for some of the players that you have out there. So it's just a network in which that you can really formulate some good knowledge and be able to expand on it.
So if I ask you what is the most rewarding and meaningful thing about being a head coach, what would be your response?
Probably just almost the joy that the players get from achieving something that they maybe didn't think was possible. When you're even just in this a small lesson, you're like saying, hey, do this little tweak here, and they hit the ball solid, and oh my gosh, like that's what I've been wanting, that's what I've been needing for the last few weeks. Or just when they have a really good round and they come afterwards and you're almost like, I knew you had that in you. There was just little things you had to do to get yourself there. I think that encouragement and seeing that and just seeing the difference. One of our seniors this year, it's been amazing to watch just the transitions that she made every single year. Like, she can't see that for herself, but as her coach, you can definitely see, okay, you're not the same person that you were your freshman year. And this is what you did to do that. And so just seeing that over the course of the 4 years has been, now that I think about it, it's rewarding on its own to know that they're doing that for themselves too.
My final question for you is, what do you enjoy most about being at Tennessee Tech as the head women's golf coach, and what makes Tennessee Tech such a special place to be at?
I'd probably say, a lot of programs, they say they're like a family, but what I've realized here, we're a smaller school. We know it's difficult. We know that just it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to be where we're at. We don't have as many resources, yeah, but we understand that we can still do well without those, and we have each other's backs. That's something that I tell the recruits too, is that I'll go to basketball games. Our assistant basketball coaches will come and watch our practices sometimes. Like we're all of us employees, all of us coaches, we all hang out together and we all pick each other's brains. We're like, hey, we'll go support, like I'll go support the women's basketball team and watch one of their practices. And when they get off the court, I'm there to cheer them on. Maybe when they're leaving class, I'm saying, hey, good game the other day. You know, it's very, even though it's small, it's something where we've developed a family mentality and we root for each other in every sport that we get to see. So I probably said that's probably one of my favorite things about Tennessee Tech, and it's probably the best thing about Tennessee Tech on its own.